Good evening. Let's try that again. Good evening. Thank you. We do that with our students. If they give a lackluster reply, we have them try again. My name is Trinette Keffer. I'm the headmaster here at Grey Hearts Western Hills. And for those of you who have been with Grey Hearts Western Hills since the very beginning, I am new, you are old friends. And I have a lot to do to catch up and a lot to do to get to know you and your students. And that's one of the things that excites me about this year. I'm not new to being a Grey Hearts headmaster. I have been with Grey Hearts since 2013. And I have been the headmaster at Grey Hearts Northern Oaks Lower School for the last 6 years. And it is my privilege to come across town. And I'm able to do this because my nest is empty and both of my children have graduated from Grey Hearts. I have a daughter who graduated in 2018 from Grey Hearts Monte Vista, and my son graduated this last spring from Grey Hearts Northern Oaks. My children started with Grey Hearts back in Arizona. My daughter started in the 7th grade, and my son started in the 5th grade. I was fortunate enough to be a 5th grade teacher when I first came to Grey Hearts, so that's my sweet spot, right smack in the middle. So I feel like I have some affinity for the youngers and some affinity for what goes on as they become the teenage animal. I have had the special privilege this summer of getting to know the leadership team members, some of which have been here since the very beginning, and they've graciously helped me to get to know some of the important traditions that have been a part of being a Spartan, and I hope to take it the next step. One of the things that I'd love to do in the next couple of years is take Grey Hearts Western Hills from survival to flourishing. It's that point that you get once you've established and done some really hard things, and you're now breathing, and you're sleeping, and you're getting the rudimentaries done. We're going to get past that and get to some of those things that people do when they're living the good life, and that is enjoy the fruits of their labor. So tonight, one of the things I wanted to do was help you to understand what it is that you are partnering with us on. You chose this school. This is not the school down the street that you had to go to if you wanted to just use the neighborhood school. We are a school of choice. And so when you choose, it's important that you know what it is that you chose so that when we partner together, we are in the same vein, same mission, same vision. And if there's anything that I say tonight that you think, that does not sound like how our family works or how I would like a partnership around my child's education to happen, then we need to have a further conversation because we aren't the choice for everyone. And that's the beauty of being a charter school, is that we are one, a unique one, in a pool of many choices that parents have the opportunity to choose from. So it's important that you know who we are and what our goal is as we partner with you. The first thing I'd like to share with you is something that's been on my heart and mind since I became a mother of teenagers, and that was I wanted more than anything else for my children to be strong and sturdy people. That meant people of good character, but also emotional health, and the ability to think of somebody beyond themselves, be able to do hard things and be proud of being and doing hard things. So I'd love to share with you a story that I did share with the faculty at the beginning of our faculty training. And I have shared with parents every year since it was shared with me. So the story goes that a man who was in his 80s, who had survived World War II, was talking with a friend, and he was remarking upon the way that the generations had changed. And he tells the story about a time on a summer in which he spent with his grandfather on a farm. And he said, my job in the morning when Grandpa woke me up before the sun ever came up, he would wake me up and it was my job to pump the water, to feed the animals in the barn before breakfast. Then I came in for breakfast. It was a hurried breakfast and then out into the field. And Grandpa grabbed hold of me and says, we are preparing the field for planting. And so he said, I helped Grandpa take the wagon, move the wagon aside in the barn, pull out the team of horses, hook them up, and then hook them up to the plowshare. And the plowshare was that thing that one of them was going to guide to make the rows, and the other one was going to hold on to the horses and make sure that they walked straight and didn't get spooked. And he said not long had they gotten started, the sun was just starting to come up, and there was this loud crack. And when they came around the back of the team of horses, they realized that the plowshare, this giant piece of iron that was put together by a blacksmith, had cracked in a way in which they could no longer continue. So they went to the swimming hole and went swimming. Nope. First thing Grandpa said was, oh my goodness, we've got a whole day ahead of us. All right, I'm going to unhook the plowshare. You take the team of horses back to the barn, hook up the wagon. We're going to wagon back out here. We're going to get that plowshare in there. Once we get the plowshare in there, we're heading into town. So in the next 30 minutes, they managed to unhook the team of horses from the plowshare, added the wagon, put the plowshare in the back of the wagon, and drove the hour and a half into town. Went to the blacksmith. They weren't the first in line at the blacksmith. They took it as an opportunity to get from Grandma some flour and some sugar at the local general store, and they waited until about 3 o'clock for that plowshare to get fixed. Put it back into the back of the wagon, drove the hour and a half back to the barn and the farm, and took a nap. No, it's still light because it's summer and it doesn't go down like in Texas, which I didn't experience living in Arizona. But the sun's up till 9, so thank goodness it's only 5:30. So they take the horses back to the barn, take the wagon off the back, attach the horses to the plowshare, and Grandpa turns to this boy and says, aren't we lucky the sun doesn't go down till 9? We can get at least half of this field plowed. So they work until there is no more light. They take everything back to the barn, unload it, and Grandma has dinner sitting on the stove, warming. She'd cooked it hours ago, but it's warming on the stove, and they're sitting there eating. And Grandma turns to the boy and says, so what do you think? Was it a good day? And Grandpa just jumps right in and goes, it was a good day, boy, wasn't it? Because he wouldn't have thought it any differently, because ultimately it was successful. Can you imagine any one of our children between the ages of 10 and 15 saying that that day was a good day? They probably would be telling somebody in their social media chat that they were being abused. Yeah. So when you think about it, think, what has changed in our society that, maybe even technologically, what has changed that has made our children's lives different? So things back then were hard, but they were actually simple, right? There was not a lot. You didn't have to fight with them and think, all right, I know I want my kid to have a good time, but enough video games already. There was nothing, right? It was go climb in the trees. Climbing the trees was great. Don't come back till dark. Spend time out of doors, explore, fall out of a tree. It's okay. Now we're more worried about, I know they've been in video games for 3 hours and they did watch a 2-hour movie. I'm feeling really guilty about all of this, but if I were to stop them, my child would feel ill-used. So now life is easier, but it's far more complex because there's so many things vying for their attention and for their hearts and their minds. And we know as parents, and we look at them and we go, oh, I wish the phone was still tethered to the wall by a long cord, and that if you had a conversation, we all would be listening to it. So you probably wouldn't be having that conversation you're having right now. And I wouldn't have to worry about, what are you saying? No, not even that, but now you can type things into a phone that nobody will ever know you said because it's in Snapchat and it can go away in 30 seconds. And now as a parent, you're thinking, well, I just want to trust them. But it was so much easier back then because if they thought about something or they read about something, you had probably already read it. Now somebody can type something into a social media chat, influence your child, and you will never know it. 50 years ago, it took over 2 years for an author to have anything he wrote past a publisher and to the bookstore where you actually paid cash for it and then you read about it. So in that whole process, people got really careful about what they say. Now, any person with a phone can type something that a 15-year-old might end up believing. So we have a world that is complex. So we want our children someday, I hope that you have the same goal in mind as I hoped for my children, is that they will be good men and women when they leave a Great Heart School, at least somewhat of a foundation that they take with them as they step into more and more difficult situations in which their virtue will be tested. And so that is what we hope to do here. The teachers that your children have this year, and we've worked hard to prepare and will continue to prepare, are not just here to teach your children math and reading. They're going to partner with you, or they want to partner with you in growing their hearts towards the good things, making good choices, not because I'm going to get a sticker, not because I might get a lollipop, but because at the end of the day, I have the knowledge that I made a good choice today. And in doing that, there's a good feeling, and there's a pride in knowing that I made good choices, and that those things will serve them as they move down the road. So sturdy children, that's my goal and my hope for our children here at Great Hearts Western Hills. And I've already lost my clicker. There it is. So I want to share the mission and vision that we discussed as a leadership team and then as a faculty. And I want to focus, the first is the mission of Great Hearts, and that is obviously to cultivate. The word there, cultivate, doesn't mean inculcate, it doesn't mean indoctrinate, it means cultivate, which means they're going to till the soil, and they're going to help pull out some weeds, and they're going to water around the really dry soil that is around your child. And we hope to do that together with you. And we're hoping that there will be this pursuit towards things that are good, and they're true, and they're beautiful. There is things that are ugly, and they don't need to be here at this school. There are cheap books that have cheap laughs. They don't need to be here, because we only have a certain amount of time in this world, in the short amount of time we live, to read. And there's so many books out there. Why waste it on junk? Our vision is a desire to flourish. Western Hills exists to build an intentional community of learners actively involved in the process of loving what is true, good, and beautiful. I want to focus on the word intentional. So things like children who are focused on somebody other than themselves don't happen by themselves. There's something intentional that happens in the activities and the thinking that goes into it. So we're hoping to build a community in which we've thought through things. Is this the best thing to be doing with our time? Not a bad thing, but is it the best thing? So we're being thoughtful in that. We hope that they will be learners, and they'll be actively involved in the process of loving. We said process. Cicero wrote an oration called On Duties. And in that, he talks about the fact that our duty as humans in a community of people is we're moving our hearts towards virtue, but that it's a process and that nobody arrives. And so I want us all to recognize that I don't expect any perfect children to come to school. There's no perfect faculty and there's no perfect parents, but we're all in the process and in this pursuit of something better and bigger than ourselves. So we're hoping that we're going to teach each other and your children what is true, good, and beautiful. I want to introduce our leadership team. Some of them are here tonight, and some are not feeling their best. So our assistant headmaster, Marcy Mitchell, is our headmaster of K through 8. She comes to us from Great Hearts, Northern Oaks as well, and she is, because we are one school for this year, helping make sure that both schools are talking to each other, both upper school and lower school. Assistant Headmaster Heather Mulder for our 3rd through 5th graders is here tonight. And Kyla Absher is our Assistant Headmaster of K through 2. And she is not here. Our Dean of Students, Criselda Arredondo. There she is, Ms. Glamour in her mask. Our Dean of Students for 5th through 8th graders, I want you to meet Graylin Griffin. He is for our students in 5th through 8th grade. And then Dean of Intervention, Erica Rodriguez, our Special Education Coordinator, G. Durazio, and we have a 504 coordinator this year, Charlie LeBoy. So they are all in your family handbook that you received tonight. So if you're looking for those names and want to be able to send them an email, you can. I want to focus tonight on the 2 words, parent partnership. Your child's teacher wants to partner with you in the pursuit of what's good for your child. So we're seeking to partner with you. So we've talked a lot about how does that communication look with parents. So if there's a struggle academically, if there's a struggle with a situation in the classroom behaviorally, they're going to have a communication with you because you know your child really well. And I want my teachers to not make assumptions, and I want them to come to you and ask how best and what are some of the ways in which you've worked with your child. We're going to seek relentless goodwill. And relentless goodwill is this interesting phrase that we use in the classical world. So goodwill is thinking the best of the other party. Instead of jumping to the conclusion that somebody must be out to do something against you, making the assumption that this other person, even though they may be doing something that doesn't seem right, that they didn't do it with a wrong intention. Then relentless, that means even when I am pretty sure you don't have my best interest in mind, I'm going to give you one more benefit of the doubt. So that relentless goodwill. Our hope is to seek clarity and resolution. So when there is a situation and your child comes home and tells you that the teacher said blank, blank, and blank, and no one cared, you want to seek clarity. So please reach out to the teacher, find out, wow, my child said the strangest thing, and you know how kids can say things. I'm curious if you can bring some clarity to this situation and help me understand what happened. So seek clarity and seek resolution. And that comes through having good lines of communication. So I am not in the classroom with your child and your teacher all the time. So the first person who knows what happened that day when your son or daughter comes home and says that this bad thing happened or this thing worries them is your teacher, okay? So please use the teacher as the first line of communication, even if what you're hearing sounds completely outlandish. And if you feel that you would like more people to know about this concern, feel free to email the teacher and copy a member of the administration team on it. That's perfectly fine. Our teachers don't see that as a threat. Once you have had a conversation through email or phone with the teacher, that the teacher reached out to you or you reached out to them and you feel as if you have not yet gotten resolution, please go the next step. So for behavior, if your student, let's say, ended up visiting Miss Arredondo, please reach out to her and the teachers to help get mediation. If you are wanting some more clarification on a curricular issue, something having to do with homework assignments that are being given by this teacher, and you're unsure of why that is the case, then you want to reach out to the assistant headmaster connected with those grade levels. K through 2, Kyla Absher, and Heather Mulder, 3 through 5. If you're unsure of who to contact, you can contact either Jennifer Cape or the info@greatheartswesternhills.org. You could email me, but my first question is going to be, have you talked to the teacher? So please, if you have, great, and you need more help, we are not here to shut you down. We want to find out how we can bring resolution. All right, let's talk about some of the wonderful things that are going to be happening in the classroom. Ordered joy. You can't have joy if you don't have some sense of order. And you probably know in your own life, when things are chaotic at home, you feel really unhappy and disjointed. Your children have that same sense, even though their room is a mess and they wouldn't choose to clean it. If you cleaned it for them, they'd be so glad because there was a sense of order and a time to breathe. So the teachers are going to set up order in the classroom. The first thing they're going to do in the first 3 days of school is teach them all the ways in which we do things in this classroom so that we can do lots of enjoyable things together. Because exploring the world around us is a fabulous thing. And sometimes when we use math manipulatives, we use edible ones like Fruit Loops. But I can't have you eating the number bonds before it's time. So it's really important that you follow all of my directions and make sure that you are listening to me, because I'm going to repeat them and we're going to practice them. So the teachers are going to repeat and practice them over and over again over the next couple of days, especially in K4. In other words, your child will not be surprised if there is a boundary when there's a point in which they don't meet the expectation, because they will have learned it, they will have heard it repeated, they will have practiced it, and then they will consistently be asked to follow it. When you have that sort of foundation, then you can happily, joyfully live inside of that. I think of this anecdotal description. Imagine if you were told to go to the tallest building in New York City. You go out to the very top, you're on the very top of the building, and somebody hands you a soccer ball and says, play ball. You'd probably hug the ball and rock right about the center of the building, hoping that nothing hit you and you didn't fall off. But if somebody built a 10-foot fence all the way around the edge and then told you to play ball, I imagine you would enjoy a good game with your peers in that space because there was a boundary that kept you safe. So we hope to build those routines that are specifically intended to make that space safe for the joyful activities that the teachers have planned. So some of the things that we're going to work on with your students this year are habits. All of us know that it takes about 28 days to build a habit. The first one we have to do is build habits of the body. So if your child comes to school and they are allowed to sit any way they want to in their chair, they are most likely not going to be as engaged if they sat in what we call scholarly position. And your child will tell you all about it. If you are new to Great Hearts Western Hills and you haven't heard, I sat like a scholar all day, and they want to teach you how to sit as a scholar, and if you haven't had a student tell you at the dinner table that you need to sit like a scholar, then that is something new you might experience this year. So if you slouch in your chair, you are more likely in a position to take a nap than you are to learn. So we want our students, not because this is some sort of military camp, but because when we put our body in a place that we have self-control over it, our mind has the ability to engage with the learning that's ahead of us. And what we want our children to see is I know it was hard, but I can do it. And we're going to slowly build. So a kindergartner, I know they can't sit for longer than 3 minutes on the first day of school. So we're going to practice it. Then we're going to reward it. And then we're going to add another minute. And then we're going to practice it. And we're going to reward it. And we're going to get up. And we're going to do cross-body movement because they wiggle. Okay? So we're going to help them learn self-control. And by the end of the first month, you won't recognize them. Surprising that you can see 30 kindergartners sitting in their chair parroting all the phonogram cards they were learning with their hands folded, and you can tell they're holding on to the wiggles that they can't wait to let out. But I'm so proud of them because they just managed to harness a desire that's not bad, but it's not the time and place, right? So if we build those habits when they're a second grader, it's easy, it's not hard. But if you sometimes have to sit still, but sometimes you don't, it's very confusing. So we're going to build habits of the body so that we can build habits of the mind. So your students are going to learn how to build a subject journal. So we're going to teach them how to take notes since the time they're a kindergartner. Oh my gosh, really? So they're going to do a lot of cutting and pasting in kindergarten. Their notes will look like some strange thing glued in the middle of it with a word scrawled underneath it. And then they become a first grader, and then become a fifth grader, and suddenly they're taking all these notes, and they're not complaining because the habit was built over years. And now we're teaching them how to take that habit of taking notes. Whenever the teacher wrote something, where do I put it? Got to put it down, got to have it. And then we're going to teach them how to use that to study. And then when they go off to college someday, they sit down in a big lecture hall and they're suddenly cramming notes into a spiral notebook because, wow, they wouldn't possibly dream of not doing that. And they realize that it would serve them well. So we're going to teach them these skills that are going to become natural parts of them being a student. The next and the last and the most important are the habits of virtue. And the habits of virtue we hope to develop through the moral imagination. There's a wonderful book by Dr. Gurion. It's called Tending the Heart of Virtue. It's on Amazon. I think it's the only place you can get it. It's called Tending the Heart of Virtue. And he talks about how fairy tales and stories that we tell children help to build their moral imagination. They see the fighting between good and evil in the stories of Cinderella, of Snow White, and they start to realize and watch through those characters as they make bad choices and good choices, that there's rewards for good choices and there are also rewards for bad choices, but I don't want those choices. So I can vicariously live through those characters and those stories like Charlotte's Web and the Jungle Book I don't have to live those out myself. I can learn the stories of virtue through these characters. And so that's why we read classical literature with your student. We're hoping to help them learn the distance between right and wrong. And it's not just because somebody told me to. Then we want them to exercise that moral imagination. We want to apply the lessons of truth and goodness that they encounter in these books. So Mrs. Arredondo, when she sees your child because they, for the third time, fell out of their seat, she's going to have this conversation, and they're going to talk about characters that they're reading that year who had to exercise self-control, and it was hard. She's going to use those stories from literature to help build their moral imagination and then challenge them to practice them. So students' habits are built through the relationship with the teachers, and sometimes it's the administration. So your teachers, we talked a lot about building and tying strings of friendship. So as teachers and students in a classroom, it's a community in that classroom, and there isn't just your child and the teacher. There are 30 your childs and the teacher, and so each of us has to learn our role in the classroom, and that I'm not the only one there. And that when I break that community by me either being disruptive or deciding that this is just not the day that you want to participate, that breaks the friendship relationship. And sometimes you lose the ability to be in that community. So if you're deciding to chuck pencils across the room, that's a disappointing choice that you've made. And we're not angry at you, but we would like to help you make a better choice the next time. And so the teacher will be motivated by charity, will have conversations with your child. So let's say that your child decides today that they are refusing to participate and they're going to hide under their desk. Maybe it was because they had a tough night last night. Maybe y'all had an activity with the family and you didn't get home till 10 and they're tired. But that's life. We all get tired, and sometimes we can't just take it out on everybody else around us. So the teacher is going to ask Johnny to step outside. They're going to have a conversation. And if that isn't going to be a good way for them to make a better choice and come back to the community, then maybe we'll visit Ms. Arredondo and she will help to make a better choice. So our hope is that if the child breaks that relationship in the classroom, and I know that it's difficult and children don't understand how to fix it. I know that I feel like my teacher's mad at me. I don't know what to do with this situation. The teacher is going to teach the child how to fix that relationship. I'm sorry you made that choice. Can I help you make a better choice? Can we talk about a different way in which you can approach that next time? And if the student can't think of anything, how about I give you a suggestion? Do you need some time to think about it? And then hopefully bring that child along. At the end of the day is the end of the day. Tomorrow's a new day, and we want to start over with the child the next day. All right, let's talk more practical matters. You have a handbook that you probably picked up as you came in. Somebody handed you some funky-looking sticky notes. I've tabbed mine because I think that as a parent, you want to know what is it that's important and how you can support your child. So if you're interested in knowing where anything to do with uniform and dress code, it starts on page 108. You might want to stick a tab there on page 108. You've probably seen that one quite a bit. All right, if you're interested in attendance, page 83, I'd like to talk to us a little bit about attendance. Our teachers work really hard to build activities into the school day that are almost impossible to recreate because we don't hand out a lot of worksheets. So if your child misses a day of school, it's going to take quite a bit of time for that teacher to help that child get caught up, and they will all actually probably miss out on a bunch of it because half of it was an exploration process through the Socratic method. So if we are going to be talking about fractions today, as a teacher, I will probably start with an orange. And I'm going to say, all right, friends, this is an orange. If I was to write this as a number on the board, what would we write? We write a 1. Oh, but if I took the skin off of it and broke it into pieces and I hold up one piece of an orange, I say, would I write 1 for this too? And then we would have a conversation around it, but there's a lot of 1s then if this is a 1 in this orange. How many pieces? There are 12 pieces. Oh my goodness, there's 12 pieces. So there are 12 parts of that one orange. I have a hard time recreating that whole conversation for your child if they miss the day of school. So attendance is so incredibly important. The Singapore books that you get for math do a pretty good job of trying to explain and walk it through, but most parents say, I don't know what that weird math is that you teach at that school. I didn't learn this way. And if you sit in the classroom with a teacher, you're going to find out, I wish I had been taught this way. But recreating it for my child in a one-off lesson because they missed yesterday is really hard for you, and we don't intend for you to do the teaching. So please make sure your child is here. If you turn past page 83, you will see that there's information there on absences and tardies. On page 85, I want to draw your attention to the fact that 750 is tardy. And we are going to do some very important work in that first 10 minutes of the school day. So your child in the morning will fill out his homework agenda. We'll copy exactly what the homework is for that night, first thing in the morning, into their homework agenda. They will also, sometime between 7:35, when we start letting them in the classroom, and 7:50, be doing bell work. We don't give out busy work here at Great Hearts Western Hills, so the things that we put out for students to do in the morning are all important work. So if your child arrives to the classroom at 7:51, we will automatically hold them in the first 10 minutes of recess, because that copying the homework into the agenda and understanding what that homework is that night and doing the bell work is an important part. So if your child keeps coming home to you and saying, Mom, I keep missing the first couple of minutes of recess, then please get your child here earlier. It takes most K through 4 students about 10 minutes to come to the classroom and take off my backpack and wave at my friends, and then, oh yeah, I have to get out my homework, and then I got my folder, and then there was a note for my teacher in the folder to my teacher, and then I'm going to put some stuff in my cubby, and I've got to take my snack out of my lunchbox and put it on top of my lunchbox in my cubby, and if it's winter, I've got to put my coat up there, and then I'm finally looking at the board to see what is it that I'm supposed to be doing for bell work. So if your child is getting here at 7:49, it is really difficult for them to get ready for the rest of the school day. And we don't want them to miss out on any part of it. So we're penalizing them by holding them in at recess. We're giving them the gift of catching up. So Mom and Dad, I know they don't drive, so I'm not giving them a detention. But I am going to ask them to stay in a recess to get caught up on those things that they missed at the beginning of the day that were so important. At the bottom of the page, it talks about makeup work, and I'll let you read through that. We have some very specific guidelines for our students on how they can access makeup work and how that makeup work should be completed. If you are looking for more information on discipline, put a tab on page 91. So that just starts at the very bottom of the page. You will see on the next 2 pages, page 92 and 93, and your students will sign this on the very first day of school. On one side, it will say the Great Hearts Western Hills Student Code of Conduct, which has everything to do with behavior. And we basically talk about the fact that our students are going to use the virtues to guide them in the way that they make choices, and that they be willing to have someone hold them accountable to them and use them as a way to help grow them. The second one is the Academic Honor Code, and it has everything to do with academics, things like cheating. I don't think that second graders do plagiarism, but we will talk a little bit about how that would apply to something like, I didn't finish my homework, but I was with my cousin and she's in my same class and I copied her homework. So we will talk about some of those things. We do like to focus on page 94, you see logical consequences. As much as possible, we want the consequences that students receive to have something that will do to build the habit of something different, okay? It's not perfect in a school setting, obviously, to do everything that is logical, but we do that the best we can. Homework expectations. Flip to page 39. At the top of the page, it has there how many minutes your child could expect to have homework. doesn't mean that every night that they should have that much, and every once in a while your child may go longer than the time that's there. If after, let's say, a couple of nights, your child's a kindergartner and they've done more than 20 minutes and it's seeming to be becoming a pattern, shoot an email to the teacher. I don't know if it's my kid or what it is that's coming home, but we seem to be working longer than the 20 minutes every single night. The teacher needs to know this information, because sometimes in our exuberance to make sure they have plenty of practice, we can overload, and we don't want to do that, okay? So again, this is a ballpark, doesn't mean your child will always, so don't get angry at your fifth grader if they only had 30 minutes of homework, because maybe they used Lyceum really well, okay? But we do want to keep that as a guide, and sometimes our teachers need to be recalibrate. They need to recalibrate. Oh my goodness, we've been doing too much. So please, communication is really important. On the next couple of pages, it talks about grades and objectivity and how Great Hearts teachers grade. There's a grading scale on the bottom of page 43. It's been stapled in because we printed it before we got the final. If you look on page 44, this is how I expect my teachers to return graded work. I want you to know how your child is doing as often as possible. So if you look at K4, it says weekly graded student work will be sent home in the student's take-home folder. Some grade levels will send it home on Monday, some will send it home on Tuesday, but it should be a pattern and you should expect it. There will be a signature slip attached to either the front of the packet of papers being sent home that are graded for you to sign and return the slip, but you can keep the papers. If there's a test that the teacher would like to have back, she'll put a signature stamp on the top of the test and ask you after you've looked over it to send it back. Your children may be asked from time to time as a homework assignment to do test corrections. This doesn't mean that they're going to get a point back on their grades, or they got an 80 and they get 5 test corrections correct, they'll get an 85. But what we like to do is we're here for mastery, not just getting it done. So some of the best ways that we're going to teach our students is mistakes are one more opportunity to get it right. So we're going to see mistakes with a growth mindset. So test corrections. All right, the all exciting thing that we're on the edge of our seat for, and is how am I going to get my kid at the end of the day and still get home before dinner? Traffic is on page 75. And I'll be up front with you. There was an update. Yeah, I know. That's the scariest word. Do you ever get terrified when your phone wants you to shut it off so it can update, or your computer? So the Curb program that we use upgraded to Curb Smart, and all of the district moved and learned how to use Curb Smart. And then we found out after we gave out all the placards on Friday that some of the numbers assigned to families was wrong. So between tomorrow, all day tomorrow, teachers are going to be sending out emails to you as a parent to say, double check to make sure that the number on your placard is the same one that I'm showing you right here. So you're going to get an individual email just to double check. The most important thing for you to know is if you've got 5 kids here, you only need 1 placard. All of your kids are assigned to a family number, but we have a backup system for that, and we will have all the kids' names printed out with their family numbers, and people will be roving out front, so just in case the number you still have is not right and the kid that came down doesn't look anything like you, we will quickly get them. Okay, so we have, Ms. Arredondo and I have gone over and over and over and over how all of the possible wrong ways this could happen and what we're going to have in a backup right there ready to go. So this is not my first traffic rodeo, and I want it to go really smoothly for y'all. All right, couple of dates I want you to make sure that you focus on. These are things that sometimes people see in the calendar and they go, ooh, holiday. And I want to make sure that you know that they're important events for us. Curriculum night. Tonight is not the night to talk about curriculum, but curriculum night is for you to come and be a student in your child's desk. So you will actually come. We'll tell you a little bit of information about the curriculum, and then we're going to send you off to class. And you're actually going to get a Spalding lesson and a Singapore math lesson, and you are going to get to learn just like your student does. So curriculum night for K4 is September 7th, and for our 5th through 8th graders is September 8th. It'll be from 6 to 8 o'clock at night. It probably won't take quite that long, but it will start at 6 o'clock. So please make sure that you save that date. Conference week, in your probably life, it's October break. The first 3 days will be parent-teacher conferences, and we're going to give the teachers the holiday, the Thursday and Friday. So if you are going to take a vacation, please do it at the end of the week and come back on Monday. Winter music concerts. Our kinder through second grade is a Friday, December 10th, and our third through eighth graders will be December 9th. And some of our sixth and eighth graders will have it one semester or the other, so just make sure that if you have a sixth grader or an eighth grader, you're checking to see which semester that they're taking music. Independent Study Week is that fabulous week in which your child stays at home and you help them build a small project. Hopefully they build the small project, not you. It starts with MLK Day on that Monday, and then you've got the 18th, 19th, and 20th to work on the project. They come back on Friday. Friday is a school day. That's when we present our projects. We don't present them on Monday. We only present them on Friday. So please, your child works really hard. They really, really want to be able to show their project. Maybe they're dressing up this year. It's the year they dress up in a costume, or they're going to be trying foods of the world. So make sure your child is here that Friday. So if you're going to go skiing, or you're just going to go tubing down a hill, make sure that you're back for that Friday the 21st. Spirit Days. Spirit Days will only be the last Friday of the month. So your child can wear any Grey Hearts Western Hills shirt or a shirt that they received from an older sibling that might go down to their knees, but they can wear it only on the last Friday of the month. And then I'm so excited to tell you that clubs will start September 13th. Yes. So information about clubs will be going out really soon. Right now, the word went out to faculty. What club would you like to run? And what are your goals with that club? We're waiting for those to come back, and then we'll send a flyer out to you that says, here are all the clubs to choose from, and the days that they're on, the times that they're at, and how much it costs, and when to sign up. So that will be coming really soon. All right, so I know this is what you all want to know now, is how do I support my child this year? And I'm going to tell you the craziest thing. I know you're not even going to guess it. The best way that you can help your child this year is to let them struggle. Let them struggle. Think about all the ways in which people say to you, you're such a person of character. I love the kind of person you are. You didn't become that person because you were a princess. It was because you went through really hard things. You probably had a cheerleader or two, or if you didn't, you wish you had, but you went through some really hard things. Have you heard the term snowplow parent? I don't want any snowplow parents. Snowplow parents get on their snowplow every morning and they pave a beautiful road in front of their child, and their little girl and little boy only walk there. They don't walk anywhere else, because I know I thought this as well. You think, if I could buy it or rescue them from it, I should do it, right? Because that's love. But love sometimes says no for no reason other than, you know what, it's time for me to say no because you've eaten enough or you've gotten enough stuff. Have you ever been in the line at the grocery store and they're begging for that thing? You're thinking, it's only 50 cents, and then they'll be quiet and they can have it. Let your child struggle this year, but be their cheerleader. It's 9 o'clock at night. Your child did not tell you that they had a test tomorrow. They're getting ready to go to bed. They all of a sudden realize it, and they're begging you to let them stay up and study for it. Sounds like a good thing, right? Being a good parent. But you set a bedtime, and they're going to need to fail tomorrow to remember that studying doesn't happen late at night after I've done a bunch of other fun stuff like watch TV. If your child forgets their homework, don't drop it off at the school because we're not taking it upstairs. They need to learn that sometimes I make mistakes and they affect me in ways that don't feel good, but I'm not going to forget that homework again, okay? If your kid forgets their lunch, we will put it on a table outside the multipurpose room or in here if they're eating lunch in here, and they can get it for themselves, but we won't deliver it, okay? I understand kids got to eat. If your child forgets a snack, don't drop it off. They're going to be a little grumbly in their tumbly, but they'll make it to lunch. okay? Let's help build sturdy children, okay? Because hard things build character, okay? All right, I am going to step down off my soapbox. Mr. Travis wants to tell you about some other ways that you can help students this year.
You want to close after this, or you want me to dismiss? Oh, I get to close them. How y'all doing? Hey, I am Ryan Travis. I am the new Director of Community Engagement here at Western Hills and Academy Giving. How many folks are new families this year? Show of hands. Yes. Wow, a lot of new folks. Okay. Any original founding families in the room? Almost as many. Yeah, give them a hand. I belong in the camp probably of the new folks. I came on staff here in the spring. When I came here, one of the first things that folks asked me was, how can I help? How can I get involved? And here we could do kind of the 3 T's. We do time, talent, and treasure. We're always going to value your time and your talent. If your talent is flipping pancakes, we want it. If you've got a little bit of time on a Saturday morning to help some families with an event at the school that supports faculty, we want it. If your talent is organizing library books, we really want that. And copy room talents, very needed at a school. We're always going to want that. Connect with me if you would like to get involved with the PSO. I have a direct line to them, and the PSO is just the Parent Service Organization for New Families. You're already a part of that because you're a family here, and so we can connect you with the leadership there that could tell you more about it. And the other thing is treasure. So probably the best way that you can support your scholar here directly is by supporting their teachers. We get to hire amazing faculty. We attract Latin teachers. We attract people who are passionate about calculus eventually and the liberal arts and history, and want to invite your students into a world where they get to think critically. And in order to hire and retain those people, we have to find ways to support them. So we find ourselves as a charter school in a little bit of a unique financial situation. We get about 85% of what the schools around us do. We don't collect any of the money from the taxes. We've all enjoyed our property values rising here in San Antonio. Great Hearts does not get to enjoy that. So what you end up with is about a $1,700 gap per student per year that Great Hearts has to come up with. So here at Great Hearts, there's something called, and there's no funding for facilities at all. So this beautiful building, all of this was made because of Great Hearts and the way that they're able to fundraise. So parents are invited to step into that gap as well. Parents are invited to have a meaningful relationship with making that gap available. Again, like I said, I got to be part of a classical education. It was a private school. I was very lucky. I can tell you that this is a private school education for free. It's tuition free. Hear me when I say that. It's just a very unique place. So the community investment campaign is a way that Great Hearts is able to invite families and grandparents and friends of Great Hearts into making all of this happen. We have to kind of fill that gap together. So my family, my wife and I, we have a puppy, we have 3 chickens. We don't have a scholar here yet, but we give $100 a month because we believe in what's happening with your students here. And that's similar to what Great Hearts invites you to, is just $100 a month, which comes out to $1,200 a year to help fill that gap and make this elite education available out here on the west side. It's a really exciting thing to be part of. I know that I feel the mission deeply, and so you are also invited to be part of that as well. Signing up for it is easy. On the website, there's donate. You can always come talk to me. Money is weird. I'm happy to talk through any of the details that you have questions about. But we're invited to all fill into this gap together, and your parental involvement is of the utmost importance to us. So time, talent, and treasure, those are the things you'll hear us talking about. But I just want to say thank you for showing up, for maybe ending your dinner a little bit early so that you could come here or for finding childcare. It is very meaningful that you're here, and this is an opportunity for all of us to catch a vision. Ms. Keffer, did you want to answer some questions?
We asked for you to send in some questions, and I have them. Let's see. Try to pick the ones that have everything to do with. Will parents be allowed to eat lunch with scholars on full school days? So one of the things that we would like to offer to you is that you can have the opportunity to eat with your child, but as space allows. So one of the things that I know is that there are parents that want to come and there's grandparents that want to come. So we're asking that any day of the week, a parent can come and eat lunch with their child. I hope that you will honor the fact that as your child is learning to grow socially, that one of the places that they do have the opportunity to grow in their social skills is at the lunch table. There isn't a lot of space. If you've seen multi-purpose room, our K through 3 students will be eating the lunch in the multi-purpose room. 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders will be using half of the gym. We have a curtain that goes down the middle, so we have lunch on one side and we can have a PE class on the other side going at the same time. Please be conscious of the fact that it's important that your child have that opportunity to socialize with their peers. It is a short amount of time. The first 5 minutes, there's music, it's quiet, nobody's talking, everybody's eating. The middle 10 minutes, quiet talking at the table. Last 5 minutes, finishing up, cleaning up, it's quiet. So it's not a very long time. And we would ask that if you do come to eat with your child, you've got to follow the rules. You can only talk during the middle 10 minutes, so ask yourself if that is worth coming down for. And then we are going to allow grandparents to come on Fridays. And Mrs. Cape is working on a document that you would fill out that says, this grandparent is allowed to come on campus and have lunch with this child. You'd be surprised at all of the ways that some unsavory people are trying to get at our children. And my job is to protect your child while they are here. I don't have the time in the day to keep track of aunties and uncles and a lot of other lovely people who would probably want to visit your child. But we just don't have that much time to keep track of. But I do know that there are, for some of our children, an important need to see some adults who love and care for them. So please, if you do want to eat lunch with your child, you just need to know the lunch schedule. You should have gotten a schedule from your teacher when you did meet the teacher. If you didn't, make sure to ask them. They'll email it to you. And it says on there what time lunch is. You'll want to come to the front office, sign in, get a badge, and be there early enough to be able to go in and have lunch and then leave at the end. So yes, you can have lunch with your student. If you're interested in how we do birthdays, birthdays are a simple affair. If your child is in K through 6, if your child has a birthday, you would bring treats, leave them at the front desk. They would be sent up to the teacher, and sometime during the day when it wasn't too much of a distraction from the learning, she'll be able to share their birthday treat with the student and they'll sing happy birthday to them. We do not want parents to make lunchtime a birthday celebration. One of the things that we have to do is make sure that those students who have food allergies, we take care of that in the classroom. So if we know that there's a child in the classroom with a food allergy, we keep food for them on treat days that they can eat. If you bring it to the lunchroom and you serve a lot of people food, you could be serving a child that has a food allergy or making them feel on a part of it because they don't have their treat, they didn't know. So the teacher helps take care of those things. And then we just have one-upmanship that happens. If your child gets balloons, then the next kid I need balloons and teddy bears. And then I need balloons, teddy bears, and flowers. And then what are they going to do with those things while they're here? So please don't use the school as a place to do a big birthday celebration. If you did bring those, we would hold them at the front desk and they'd get them at the end of the day. So if you want to bring donuts, just make sure you've got one for every student and then you drop it off at the desk and the teacher will make sure that they get them. For 7th and 8th grade, since it's very difficult, they have different classes. We'll talk with those parents in the next session about how we would do that there. I believe that my friend, Mr. Travis, is recording tonight. Yes. So for those, if you have a family or friend who said they couldn't come, he is recording this so that somebody can watch it afterwards. Somebody asked the question, Great Hearts Western Hills going on our 3rd headmaster in such a short time. Are you planning on being headmaster long term for the success of the school? Well, I had no desire taking this job that it would be for a short amount of time. I literally, when I first took the call to come to Grey Hearts in Texas, I left my entire family behind except my 2 children. So I don't come here and take this lightly, but I do understand the fear of, a pattern has continued. I understood that when I took this job, that the person who took this job couldn't become as just a stepping stone in their own personal career. So I'm a loyalist. I'm also an athlete and a basketball coach. So I have a hard time when people when they leave a team, because I'm a homer and a lifer. I had a hard time when the Phoenix Suns, my team, lost Tom Chambers and Kevin Johnson, some of those players from back in the 90s. So I don't plan on going anywhere. And my adult children now have made San Antonio home. So there's no reason for me to move on. What are 3 things you would like to see improve at Grey Hearts Western Hills as a school and a community? Well, I'm excited about the flourishing activities that I think we're bringing to the school community. Clubs for our 5th through 8th grade students. We are birthing a new house system, and they will be involved in a choosing ceremony first thing Wednesday morning. Lots of tradition will happen around that house system, which those older students will be able to eventually, over the years, help in mentorship with younger children. I hope to build things that Grey Hearts families in Western Hills have looked at other schools around San Antonio and said, when are we going to have that at our school? I hope to make that happen. I hope you be patient, because we can't do it all in one year. Experts say that when you are doing something and you're turning someplace around or trying to build something new, it takes about 3 years. So we're in for the long haul, but I have a really hard time being patient. So we have already tried to put quite a few things in place, and our teachers are going to need that support, because they're looking at me already thinking, is this the way it's going to be all year? Because we're already exhausted. You've got a lot of crazy ideas. So our teachers need a lot of support. If nothing else, a note once in a while that just says, I see you and thank you. I'm looking at a couple other questions. So I know that there's a lot of questions and concerns around COVID. If you have not received the back to school COVID policies, there are some slight changes from last year. Obviously, it's going to be a choice as to whether or not your child wears a mask. No child will be shamed for wearing a mask. A good portion of our teachers will be wearing masks. A teacher who sees a child come in the morning in a mask will assume you wanted them to wear a mask, and so they will do what they can to help remind them to keep the mask on. But at the end of the day, we won't police masks. We're not the mask police, but we will probably send you an email saying, I know that you probably wanted Johnny to wear this mask and he didn't seem to keep it on, so I'm just letting you know. So we will partner with that. We will let you know if there's a case of COVID in your grade level or your section. You will know that. We will do everything we can to the cleanliness of the school, and the filtration is going to continue. We have twice as many day porters as we had when we first opened, and so they are constantly moving about cleaning up behind our children. And I imagine to some extent our children are going to have a few more viruses than they did before, because we did so much good hand washing over the last 2 years. And so some people don't have the immunity to the small bugs anymore. And so we all are going to have some of those small bugs coming back. Thank you so much for coming tonight, and I am happy to answer any questions. We do have upper school families coming between now and 7:30. But if you have questions, I'm here and you are sure welcome to ask. We also have our assistant headmaster for 3 through 5 students, and Marcy Mitchell is here. And Ryan, if you want to know more things about community investment. But thanks again for coming, and we will see your scholars Wednesday morning bright and early. 7:50 is tardy.